Welcome to a Between Bites Piecemeal episode. Piecemeal is a podcast hosted by the Emily Program, and Between Bites are short episodes addressing topics you want to know more about. Piecemeal covers topics related to eating disorders, body image, and how society may influence our thinking. Please use your discretion when listening and reach out for support as needed. I'm your host, Jillian Lampert, and for Between Bites, you just get me, no guest, but welcome. Today's topic is all about navigating the start of a new year. New Year's and the New Year's resolution season can be really difficult for everybody, especially people with an eating disorder. The new year often means going back to work, going back to school, starting something new, and of course, it's flooded with New Year's resolutions, so many of which are focused on body, on food, on eating, and all the things. So let's talk about how to navigate this post-holiday resolution season. So it really does. This season, this start of the year gets me riled up every time. So in these early days of 2026, these conversations about resolutions kind of everywhere, at work and group chats, around the dinner table, across social media. According to the Pew Research Center, nearly 80% of people who set New Year's resolutions focus on changing their bodies or their eating habits or their fitness routines. 80% of the resolutions people make are about changing their bodies or their food or their activity. And while these goals are often framed as like healthy or motivating, they can be super challenging for people navigating an eating disorder or people like working to maintain a really strong recovery. And honestly, for anyone who sets high expectations for themselves, but then struggles or feels guilty or, engages in disordered eating to meet their resolutions. And so many times these resolutions are fueled by diet culture, are fueled by weight stigma, are fueled by shame about body size and shape. And the cultural drumbeat of like new year, new you just links, our worth, our self-worth to discipline and appearance and productivity. And, so against that backdrop, even well-intentioned conversations with colleagues, with friends, with family can like trigger these such shame and self-judgment experiences. And those are sort of buoyed along by the pressures of diet culture. So that, we see it most in January and February. There's also interesting studies that show that most of the New Year's resolutions that people put into place sort of drop off by the, early weeks of February. So yeah, we do it every year. Many people do, maybe thinking this year will be different, but it really, New Year's resolutions can often offer motivation as sort of this like slick glaze over just unrealistic ideals. So if you are struggling with New Year's resolution season, or if you are the loved one of someone with an eating disorder, know that one of the things you can do to help is be really aware of how you or people around you share anything about a resolution related to body or even health. Is this resolution, is it holistic health you're pursuing, or is it limited to just one facet of health? And how are you talking about it? What are you saying about it? So, with the perspective of kind of how we talk about these sorts of things at the Emily Program, I really like that at the Emily Program, I think we encourage a different approach. Like, let's use the start of a new year as one more opportunity. Like, there's nothing really super magical about the January 1st or any new day, but how can we use any day as another opportunity to practice self-compassion and to set intentions that honor healing and well-being? Like, I can get behind that. I can get behind another opportunity to try to take care of ourselves with compassion, with self-compassion, and to set our intentions that really honor ourselves, our healing. That mindset is transferable. It can benefit anyone, whether they have an eating disorder or not, because it shifts the focus from this like rigid outcomes focus to personal care. Instead of focusing on restriction or appearance, like what if we reflected on what nourishes us emotionally, physically, socially, and worked to create routines that supported balance and connection and fulfillment? What if we believed that progress wasn't measured by perfection, but by small, meaningful steps that align with our personal values and our recovery goals? If you're somebody struggling with an eating disorder, I think those shifts would be incredibly impactful. That mindset shift would allow us to sort of enter into this new year, these new opportunities grounded in self-care and self-love rather than caught in cycles of comparison or self-criticism, which are not helpful cycles. Like in a cycle of comparison or self-criticism, we never do okay. Ourselves never come out on top in those conversations. So it's a reminder of, that resolutions, if you make them, can be about continuation of growth and self-compassion rather than starting over and then perceiving, focused on perceived shortcomings. So I think we can, it's important to remember we can decide to make changes in how we treat ourselves any day of the year, any minute, not just in January because it's the start of a year. So I think that's the frame I bring to this is how do we really think about any new start as an opportunity to practice self-compassion and set those intentions that honor healing and well-being. And navigating that sort of culture of comparison, I want to spend some time on that, right? Like there's such a culture of comparison. So if I'm saying, we should be, practicing self-compassion, how does that work with a culture of comparison? And cultural pressures are real. Social media is full of diet challenges, workout streaks, before and after transformations. I don't know about you, but my feed just continues to feed me junk about how I can, do it even better this year. And that can make any of us feel like we are not enough. Those messages can be triggering, they can create stress for anybody, and particularly those striving to meet unrealistic resolutions or unrealistic sort of goals. It's just noisy, 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 noisy. So recognizing those triggers and responding with curiosity rather than criticism becomes a really essential skill. Asking like, what can I learn from this? Or, oh, that's interesting information. Good to know, not helpful. Our mindfulness skills, our self-reflection skills, our boundary setting skills can really reduce the impact of those cultural messages, whether that means we curate our social feeds really carefully and we just unfollow things that are not helpful and we block things that are not helpful. And maybe we put our phones down because maybe that's not helpful to spend time with our phones. We spend time with people. Maybe we practice gratitude for what our body allows, or seek communities that prioritize authenticity and mental health over appearance. Loved ones, support networks certainly are a key part of this if you're struggling with an eating disorder, or if you're human, right? Our loved ones and our support networks are so vitally important during this resolution season and always, together our networks can help us create positive environments by, avoiding diet focused conversations or encouraging us to focus on things like joy and connection and our overall well-being. That really reduces the pressure on everyone and lowers the grip that this culture of comparison has on all of us, can have on all of us. We can get out of that grip by, when we think about comparison, we can ask ourselves, like, was this helpful to me? Maybe not. Maybe I can enjoy A for what it is and B for what it is and not have to compare A and B. And also the new year doesn't have to be about changing our bodies, but if starting afresh, starting anew is important to you or feels resonating with you, it could be an opportunity to deepen our relationship with our body. How do we more deeply accept who we are as we are? That's one of the most courageous and meaningful commitments a person can make. And I encourage you to use this, new year or any day of the year, any minute to move forward with that compassion and care for yourself and for others. We are all in this together. And if we care for each other better, we will all be better. Let's not let diet culture define our worth or convince us of our worth or convince others of their worth. And a special note, if you're going back to something, if you're going back to school, particularly if you're a college student going back to campus and going back to school for a spring semester, but even if you're going to work, if you're starting something new, but if you're going back to something, remember to bring your support with you back to school or back to that new thing. Maybe your support is therapy, maybe it's treatment, maybe it's connection with friends and family, maybe it's reconnecting with your friends at school. Maybe it's your special pillow or your special stuffed animal, your favorite tea, or maybe it's that awesome new sweatshirt you got for a holiday gift, whatever it is. Transitions can be tricky, no matter how strong your mental health is, no matter how great your eating disorder recovery is, no matter sort of how grounded you feel. Transitions are an opportunity for things to get a little bumpy. They just are because things are different. So if you're going back to something, even if it's a really familiar setting, keep your support and your attention to what you need strong so that you can make that transition smoothly and in a way that's supported. because transitions, again, can be tricky. So if you are going back to something or starting something, maybe you're starting a new job, maybe you're starting a new relationship, maybe you're getting a new pet, maybe you're starting a new activity, maybe you're starting a new advocacy effort, remember to bring your support with you, and that it's okay to need it. We all need support, and we certainly all need each other. So as we sort of think about this new year that we're in, really thinking about, what do I want to bring into the new year, and how do I want to do that each day? How do I practice self-compassion? How do I set intentions that honor my healing and my well-being when I get the urge to sort of talk about to myself or to other people about a resolution I'm making? And when I'm navigating that culture of comparison, how am I thinking about comparison? Because again, A can be A and B can be B, and you don't have to compare A and B because they both can be beautiful. And again, we rarely come out on top when we're in a comparison sort of bind. So really thinking about how you can encourage an environment for yourself that really bolsters your overall well-being. And I hope it's a good year. I hope great things happen for everybody. And I know that the likelihood of that is much higher if we all stick together and care for each other and care for ourselves and really ask for what we need. So as you go into the new year, I hope that those ideas make it a little bit more manageable for you, eating disorder or not. We're all in a new year, so let's work to bring ourselves into it with compassion, with support, and see how that goes. As always, if you or someone you know might have an eating disorder, please reach out for help. Don't wait. Reach out for help. And if you have a topic that you'd like to see discussed on Between Bites or in an episode of Piecemeal, drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. If you've enjoyed today's episode of Piecemeal, please subscribe, rate, or leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. Learn more about us at emilyprogram.com or find the Emily Program on social media. Piecemeal is produced by the amazing podcast team at the Emily Program. Until next time, take care. Thanks for listening.